Hello, I did the do's and don'ts of multiple choice questions. So to start off, some of the do's, the do's of multiple choice, are use familiar words with students. You don't want to use words that are unfamiliar because then they might get confused as to what the word means, and that could throw off what they choose as their answer. Next, clearly state each question in a positive form. What this means is just don't state the question negatively. Like, you want to make sure all these questions are positively formed so that the students can stay confident and they have a better understanding of the concept. And then make sure there's only one correct answer. A lot of teachers do this, especially when I was in high school. A lot of my teachers did this. Excuse me. And so they put two correct answers, and it just caused a whole debate of who was right and who was wrong. And it's just unnecessary. So if you can prevent that, I would highly suggest that, just to stay away from any feuds in the classroom. And then think about the learning objective you want to achieve with each question. If you have a question in the test that doesn't have anything to do with what you want your students to achieve with this lesson, I would suggest you don't put it in there, because why would it be in there unless it's a bonus question? Maybe if it's a bonus question, but we're not talking about that right now. So just stick to what you want the students to achieve in the lesson. Next, present answers vertically and in alphabetical order. So I keep doing that. When teachers do multiple choice, like A over here, B, C, D, it doesn't really give each question or which option enough space, and it gets kind of confusing. Whereas if it's vertical, it's organized in a well manner. Oh, and one that I don't have included on here is make sure that you have at least 3 to 5 options available for the students. So let's say you have 4, you would have A, B, C, and D. And then write out questions in full sentences. You don't want incomplete thoughts because then that confuses the students as well. So make sure that you have complete sentences with complete thoughts, just to help the students better understand the question that you are asking. Now, the don'ts of multiple choice. Don't use vague terms such as sometimes, rarely, or might, because this is going to throw off all the students and they aren't going to be exactly sure, because it's not a clear explanation, or it's not a clear question, I guess. And then don't use unnecessary repetition of text in choices, because this will confuse the students as well. If you add like a bunch of unneeded words, it's just gonna make the question more confusing and harder for the students. Avoid making the correct answer longer. Some teachers do this where they want to make it super obvious, so they add a ton of details that are included with the right answer to make it longer so the students pick that, but that's a don't for multiple choice. Don't write questions saying which of the following is true except. So with personal experience, it was always really hard for me to choose the right answer with these because I'd always get confused about what the question was asking. So instead, just have a clear question, not except, because some students miss that part and it just gets really confusing. Don't offer 2 correct answers. This was talked about in the previous slide. And then don't use abbreviations. Unless all of your students know exactly what the abbreviation stands for, then it's okay. But just try to avoid using abbreviations if you're like lazy, which hopefully you're not lazy when you're making a test for your students. But yeah, and that is all I have.